Welcome to Sharing Thoughts with Phil Charpentier. I did my first couple shows with Walking Through Life with Linda, and I enjoyed talking about my love of music and jazz, and I enjoyed talking about my mental illnesses, and I really feel that I want to try to bring more awareness to mental illness. So sharing thoughts is what I'm going to do. It's my program. Today, I just thought it relates to jazz because that's what jazz was to me as well. It's just musical thoughts that I've had since I was a kid, you know, just riffs or licks, and I'm going to play a few of those, and then on the next shows I'd like to invite musicians on that want to play together, and I want to invite people on to talk about some of the questions that I think society needs to ask itself about mental illness. And today's show is just going to involve me playing a little horn to introduce my horn playing a little more and get into some ideas and thoughts that I was having. So my first thought was that a lot of people have is, how do you get someone help with a mental illness? And that's a simple question, but the answer is far more complex. It's, you know, similar to an alcoholic who just keeps drinking and people telling them, hey, you need to get some help, and they don't listen, they just drink and drink. And, you know, it's the same kind of thing. There's not a simple answer to that question. How do I get someone I love help with a mental illness? But I think the first step that needs to happen is you need to define what the problem is. And when I was about 22, had my first episode. I was in an episodic state. And I was with my dad at my cousin's house or a relative's house, and I didn't have any idea where I was. And my dad thought an idea to get me help was, you know, he thought he'd take my wallet and keys, and, you know, I was in the kind of place where I was having confused thoughts and elated thoughts, and he had to go somewhere, and he took my wallet and keys figuring I would stay there and I'd be there when he got back. And I got really upset about that, and he was gone, and I just started walking. And I walked all night, and this was in an area where I didn't have any idea where I was. And not only was I mentally ill at the time, I didn't know where I was, so I could basically didn't know what to do. You know, it was one of these things that I'm sure happened to numerous people that wind up lost, in, you know, just the lost or the homeless, you know. And I thought, you know, I'll go into a hospital that was there, and maybe I could tell them, you know, what I was feeling. And what happened was I went in the hospital, and the guard there, you know, thought I was making it up, or he thought I was, you know, full of baloney, and he kicked me out, and, you know, I was back out on the street, and he stayed there until I left. And here, you know, I didn't know what I'd do, you know, and it's just a matter of the stars aligned, and I made my way into a diner, and a woman that I didn't know gave me money for a bus, and I got on the bus, and then it just happened to be that I saw my dad in his vehicle, and, you know, I ran to get off the bus, and there he was, and I said, aha, I found you, you know. But I really don't know how that happened, you know. So this is a difficult question. And how do I get a loved one help with a mental illness? You know, the person has to evolve to know that they and understand themselves that they have a mental illness. And that's a process that takes, you know, some people their entire lives. I know I spent my entire life trying to help my mom, you know, with her manic depression, and she just fought it. She fought it to the end, you know. She believed in, you know, she was into no nuke. She was against the death penalty. She was into fighting every war there was, and you know, she was always looking at problems outwardly. She never reflected and looked inwardly and say, you know, and that's part of that saying called know thyself and to thyself be true. And I think that's an important thing for someone having a mental illness, to know themselves, to know when they're not feeling well, and to get help. And my idea of this show and getting people to talk about it is to raise awareness. Even though I realize I'm just a drop in an ocean, I'm trying to raise awareness of the diseases like manic depression, depression, schizoaffective disorder, schizophrenia. Or, you know, you can also have a combination of mental illnesses. You don't always just get one. You know, I have schizoaffective disorder, bipolar type, I have OCD, I have insomnia, I have hypopolydipsia, which is, you know, compulsively drinking fluids, which caused me to pass out at times. But there is a little story I'd like to tell about, you know, an oak tree. If you're trying to get someone help, and you know, in an oak tree stand, you feel yourself, you're right up against something you can't take down. You just keep chipping away at it. Just keep trying. Don't give up. Don't give up on your loved ones. I just want to play a little musical thought trying to say, reach out to your loved ones and never give up on them. Okay, that was my little thought for not giving up on your loved ones and trying to find a way to get them to see a psychiatrist, see a counselor, talk about what they're feeling, and get a diagnosis and fight it sooner rather than later. Don't wait till the end of your life to realize something, you know. The sooner the better. Okay. Another question I had is, how do I know if I have a mental illness? Now, I talked a little bit in my shows with Linda about the various symptoms that I described and how, you know, I put the stages of my mental illness and made it as clear as I possibly could. But everyone is different. So everyone has different experiences, and You know, like I said, the euphoria is a good sign. If you're depressed you know, one time when I was a kid, a branch broke outside my house. And my mom cried. She cried for months, you know, about a branch, you know. And I was like, I was just a kid. I didn't understand why she was crying, you know. And, you know, she had depression. And, you know, but I didn't understand what was going on, you know. I couldn't see why she was so upset about just a branch being broken, and she wasn't. She was feeling that depression, which is, you know, it's terrible. And if she tried to get help, it would have made it a lot easier on me. That's what happened with my mom. Okay, another question I like to put out there for people is, will the mental illness go away on its own? And I found to be the case, the answer to that question is no, it won't. The only way it's going to go away is if you get the proper medication, get the right dosage, and you have to realize that in order to do that, you need a relationship with a psychiatrist, because the medication does not stay the same. As you go through life, a med you're on could be working fine for you, and then not all of a sudden, but it stops working. It stops having its potency. You know, you start having physical side effects from the meds, and it's no longer working for you, and you need to change meds. So you need to be in kind of constant contact with your psychiatrist and with your counselors to you know, adjust the meds. You know, I go once a month, and I see my, you know, therapist once a week. And, you know, it's important for them to see when you're feeling well, too, because that way they can judge and ask themselves, hey, you're not acting like yourself, Phil. You know, and it's important, I guess, also to listen to your loved ones as well. If they say, hey, you know, you're not acting like yourself, Phil, you know, it's important as a person with a mental illness to listen to other people, you know.